Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner spoke to the S Network and had this to say. It's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things that they're doing. We'll see if it pays off. They still have to have a season relatively injury-free for it to work out for them. It's a long season, as you know, and once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. We've seen that time and time again. After signing Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers, obviously, do you have a problem with Hal's comments?
Yeah, I do. The Yankees have had a good offseason with some of the acquisitions that they have made after losing Soto. We get that. I understand it. But nevertheless, I don't want to hear Steinbrenner, Hal Steinbrenner in this case, because Hank obviously passed away years ago, God rest his soul. I don't want to hear that from Hal. Fact of the matter is, there was an urgency attached to the Yankees when it came to winning when the late, great George Steinbrenner was around running this team. When you are a Yankees fan, you anticipate that his offspring will resemble his attitude, his fervor, his passion, his commitment to winning. That's what you would expect. And when you listen to Hal, you know, it's almost like a built-in excuse as to why we're not doing what people think we should do. I want to hear that. You haven't won a World Series since 2009. I know the trash cans in Houston may have derailed you a few years back with that controversy. I get that part. But you just lost the World Series to the Dodgers. You should have won Game 1. Had you won Game 1, it would have been a different animal. But Freeman made sure that didn't happen. And obviously, we look at the New York Yankees right now, and we see the way that the Dodgers are spending money, and the Yankees just pale in comparison. And you're Hal, what's the excuse? It's the Yankee brand. You got money. You can afford to go out there and spend. That's true, but people are out recruiting you too. They're choosing to go other places rather than come to you, and it ain't always about the money. Take Soto into consideration. Yeah, he seems like a mercenary and went to the Mets instead of the Yankees and all of that stuff. Maybe it was because of Aaron Judge. Maybe it was because the Mets were willing to give him his own suite, and you guys said we didn't even do that for Jeter or Mariano Rivera or somebody. Whatever the case may be, there are elements to success that the Yankees enjoyed under George Steinbrenner that we don't see happening under Hal Steinbrenner. Hal Steinbrenner resembles far too many of the other owners out there instead of resembling his daddy. And Yankee fans want him to resemble his daddy.
Here's Bob Nightingale, Dodgers MVP. That's unanimous MVP to you, Bob. Shohei Ohtani announces that he once again will represent Japan in the World Baseball Classic. And so Ohtani's with Japan. The U.S. has Judge, Skeens, Bobby Witt Jr., and a bunch of others that we'll get to in a little bit. Francisco Lindor with Puerto Rico, Salvador Perez, the captain of Venezuela. And I always forget, it feels like the WBC's been around forever. This is only the sixth one, but it's finally back in early 2026.
And you know what's been cool? The last couple, particularly the last one, it's gained a lot of momentum here in the States. You see a lot of the Latino countries and Japan take it very serious. Like, this is almost played like their World Series. But this last one, the Mark DeRosa managed team, when they played Team Japan in the finals, yep. I mean, that was like, I was glued in to watch that. And, you know, it took me some time to get adjusted to the World Baseball Classic. And then when you have this great ending with Ohtani and Trout, teammates never faced each other, and Ohtani comes out of the bullpen to get the last out. Listen, if Shohei Ohtani announced he was going to play in a volleyball tournament, it would be big news. So, listen, to have him in the mix again and coming off another magnificent year, back-to-back World Series titles with the Dodgers, Team Japan, probably they're going to be the team to beat.
Sure.
Along with the U.S., you put the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Venezuela in that mix too, but it's going to be a great tournament.
It feels like the WBC is when we really were introduced to Ohtani on a grand scale, because with the Angels, he was never in the playoffs. Trout, for the most part, hasn't been either. It's only been with the Dodgers where we really got to see him shine on some of these grand stages, and we just showed the numbers, both at the plate and on the mound. He still delivers.
Yeah, and something tells me he'll probably be lurking in the bullpen again in big games, coming off that surgery last year, his first year back. Just had a marvelous year at the plate, a marvelous year on the mound. He's like no player this game has ever seen. And when you have Ohtani on your roster, you have a big edge, let's put it that way, because he can do it. He's a game changer in the box. He's a game changer on the mound.
And you could have two of his Dodgers teammates, Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, joining him in next year's.
What a press release we got yesterday. Loved it. We told you Major League Baseball would do it, and they did. And I give them credit because you got to do it. Game 7 of the 2025 World Series averaged, wait for it, 51 million viewers. Well, that's a different number than we heard. We thought that the number was, 16, 18, 19 million, 21 million. Where do you get 51 from? Let's read it more carefully. Game 7 of the 2025 World Series averaged 51 million viewers combined across the United States, Canada, and Japan, making it the most watched baseball game in 34 years. What an amazing announcement. Here's why it matters, folks. Why were people in Canada watching in record numbers? Hold on, I can't think of a reason. There may have been some Canadian-born players. I think Freddie Freeman, his family may be from Toronto. He may have grown up in Toronto. I think that it's true that there was a player who had been to Canada once and had eaten poutine. I think. Seriously, folks. The Toronto Blue Jays were in the World Series. There's no other Canadian teams. They captured the heart of the country, and half the damn country was watching. Guess what's not going to happen next year if the Blue Jays aren't in the World Series? Those people won't be watching. Hold on. Let's think about Japan. Was there anybody who would be of interest in Japan playing in the World Series? I'll give it a minute. Oh, yeah. Yamamoto, the MVP. There was one of the great Japanese pitchers pitching in the World Series. I don't think anyone else was. I know Ichiro wasn't playing. He's still very popular. But Yamamoto drove these ratings in Japan just miraculously. Like his name was Kaz Matsui. I'm talking unbelievable. If you can't sense it because it's a Thursday and maybe I'm tired and grumpy with rolls under my eyes and also an unbelievable amount of widow's peak, then of course, Ohtani in the World Series, the Blue Jays in the World Series, you're damn right you're going to get a record. And even though you know that you are not going to get that next year short of a rematch of the Blue Jays Dodgers, short of Ohtani being what Ohtani is, which there's no indication he won't be, you don't worry about the fact that next year you're not going to be able to report this same press release. You take advantage of now. Of course you put out there that you got 51 million viewers because you're trying to make your league different than the NBA, and they got different already. Forget the NFL. Not going to talk about them. They got different than the NBA because they already got to announce that Game 7 was already higher than the Game 7 in the NBA Finals last year. Let's not discuss the fact that it was the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's no reason. Let's be positive. The reason why this matters, it's only to people like us. At the negotiating table, I must tell you, as much fun as it is to write a press release with what your ratings are, when Major League Baseball goes to the negotiating table to replace ESPN, when they go to the negotiating table in 3 years to do way more fully baked national-based deals, this won't even come up. When there's a discussion about what is the value, this conversation, not happening. Why? It is true that there will be a deal in Japan. It is true that Netflix Japan would have great interest in eyeballs, or Netflix Canada. It is true that there are networks throughout Canada, Sportsnet. There's networks that would have an interest in having rights to the World Series, rights to the jewel events. But what drives the NBA deals that they started this year, it was the U.S. And it is true. All sorts of MVPs, like the last 6 in NBA, have been non-Americans. It is true that the NBA is a global sport. It is true that Major League Baseball can announce that they've got more foreign-born players than any other league. The problem is where the players are born in Major League Baseball are not countries that have any material impact on the value of a rights deal. Dominican Republic, Venezuela, doesn't matter. They are not coming to the table with anything. The more Japanese players that come to play in Major League Baseball who can perform, the more Yamamotos, there's only one Ohtani, the more Yamamotos you can get, the bigger opportunity you can get a larger deal in Japan proper. But the streaming companies will now compete with the land-based, terrestrial-based networks in Japan. Incremental dollars, they matter. But in terms of catching the NBA, in terms of overall value, it's about the major networks here in the U.S. Do I disagree with that announcement? Absolutely not. Does it matter? Absolutely not.